Welcome to the Business of Family, the podcast where we explore the stories, challenges, and opportunities of family businesses. I'm your host, Tammy Buss, and I'm a family business survivor, and I'm also a family business advisor. In this show, we'll be talking with family business leaders and experts to bring you insights and inspiration so you too can survive your family business journey. Whether you're a founder, a successor, a professional, or just curious about family business, this podcast is for you. So in today's episode, I wanted to chat a little bit about empowering women in business. And I wanted to bring back Barbara Kephart from Projects Pivot, because Barbara and I met at a women's conference in Denver in the spring of 2024. And I'm just heading off to another conference, which is a women's conference in Florida, who again, I met through this conference in Denver. And so Barbara, I'm so happy that you came in today to talk about empowering women, because again, I think it's so important for women to support each other. And, again, having met, which is really funny because here we are in Denver and we're only a couple hours apart here in Ontario. So go figure, right? We just kind of met and clicked. And anyway, I wanted to bring in a chat about that today. Yeah. So thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me back.
So, in your mind, when you say empowering women, what does that really mean to you, do you think?
As a woman in tech, it's something that's very, very much needed, especially when you're dealing with men who have a tendency to want to, no offense to the men out there who don't do this, but many do try to silence you. We really need a way to be able to be heard, and we can do that by supporting each other. So women need to really relate to each other and understand what we're going through. We need to lift each other up. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And especially those of us who are founders of companies, even more so, to be able to lean on each other. I love partnerships like this. I love collaboration like this. And I love my preference is doing it with other women-owned businesses, because that's a way we can move forward. We also need to lean on each other during those difficult times. Mm-hmm. Being a business owner goes up and down. And you have a lot of talking heads coming at you in your business. Mm-hmm. Let's say you are in a business and you are maybe the only female who's representing this business. Yes. And that makes it really tough. You need to be able to turn to other female-owned companies or female people that are working in your space and say, how do you handle this? Can I get some feedback?
Because I know, having started off in my career in the financial services industry, back in the 80s, it was male dominated. Yeah. It was very difficult, and there wasn't a lot of support from you. It was all the buddy guy stuff, and women weren't included. Also, it's a very different time today, which I think it's so important for us to be able to embrace it, because back in the 80s, there was a lot of stay-home moms still, and there weren't as many career-focused women. There were, but it was fewer and farther between, because we were expected to be the primary caregiver and really looked after the house and all these other things, where now it's so much more equal. Mm-hmm. And I've got clients who the dads are the ones staying home. Like, it's a lot different today. And I do think that working together as women, because we still are nurturers by nature, I think. Mm-hmm. Right? And to empower each other and to help each other is key. But I can tell you, I don't know if you've had this experience, because we're in the same ilk here. There was a lot of times when women wouldn't support each other.
Yes, right.
And it was difficult. You wanted to rely on them, but they were almost like stabbing you in the back a little bit. Mm-hmm. And did you have that experience?
I have, and there's a lot of women out there that were trying to play in the man's world and in the man's ways. And that made it very difficult, because there are different ways of doing it. We can be incredible nurturers for not only the people that we directly work with, but those that are reporting to us. And there's a lot we can do to lead by example. Mm-hmm. And when you're working with someone who's not kind of following that lead by example, but they're frantically scratching to get to the top in as quick a way as possible, and they're not very collaborative, they're not very supportive, you kind of don't want to work with them. And I still see them out there. I still see that their style, let's call it, it doesn't work for me, and it's fine. That's the way they choose to be in business, and many times they do reach the top.
Yeah.
How long they stay is always
And it's a lot of sacrifices, right? It's a lot of sacrifice. I think it's getting much better today,
right,
with the understanding that women can be more than just wives and mothers.
Yes.
And the fact that, we had to exit the workforce for a period of time for mat leave.
Yeah.
But if you're self-employed, you realize that there is no mat leave.
Right.
I had my youngest son, I was the end of RSP season back in the day when you had to actually physically go and grab a check and make a deposit. He was born on the 25th of February.
Right.
I was back out on the 27th, seeing clients picking up checks.
Right. Right.
You just had to make it work, right? There was a way that you could do it. And people think, oh, well, if they have children, they're not going to be around, or, they're not going to be as successful. And in fact, we can. And I think that's the one thing when you're dealing with other women, you understand that we can do it all.
Yeah, we can.
Right? And we need to encourage each other.
And elevate each other.
Yes.
I started my business as a single mother. My children were 11 and 13, 14 at the time. And I could have never started a business actually when I was married. It didn't fit within what my former husband would have wanted. And I chose to do this, and my kids were just so supportive of it. They were like, go, Mom, go. They thought this was great. And so I've only ever been in business as a single mother. And so I learned very early on that I do need to rely, and many of those women have elevated me. In fact, the person that encouraged me to go into business was the one that just kept saying, you got this, you can do this, this is what you need to do. And then, of course, my kids have just followed along, and they've been supporting me all the way through, and it's been almost 10 years since I've been in business.
Yeah, and you know what, and I never really thought of myself as being sort of a minority of being a female business owner, because I just thought I was a business owner, and I never really thought about that until I went to this conference where we met, and there was, 4,000 women business owners there from all across the world, basically, supporting each other and helping and saying, okay, how can we do things differently? Because when you do come at it, I never really thought of it, but you do come at things a little bit different, and females are perceived a little bit different, whether you're going to the bank, looking for loans. Because I remember one of my clients mentioned, wasn't all that long ago that she needed her husband's signature to get a bank loan for her business.
Right.
And she just promptly changed banks as a result of that.
Exactly.
But this wasn't all that long ago. This was probably 10 years ago. Yeah. And you're thinking, wow.
Yeah.
So having it was, of course, a man across the table from her. And I won't tell you the bank. It's a large Canadian bank. But I'm not going to, poo-poo the bank. It's that person sitting there,
right.
Not being confident in a woman's ability to grow and build a business and know what she's doing.
Exactly.
And I think that's why working with women, we understand each other and the hardships that we've gone through and how we can help and support, because we get each other, right?
Exactly. And I didn't understand the strength in the women-owned group until actually just the past few years. Mm-hmm. I'd had some experiences in the beginning where I didn't find the right group. I tried, and the group didn't fit me because I'm in tech. I just couldn't find that right fit. And so I was discouraged. And so I thought, what the heck is this women-owned stuff? This just doesn't work for me. And over these past few years, of course, accumulating in the conference that you and I met at, I find that now I'm in the right groups, and I'm in a couple now that I find really have fit for the direction they need to be. And interestingly, I thought that they'd all be also women in tech, but they're not. Mm-hmm. They're people who aren't working directly in technology, but they're still giving me what I need, and across all different industries. So I think there needs to be some time to find where you are a good fit. Yeah. And there's a bit of a trial period once you find those particular groups or conferences or support systems, whatever it might be.
Well, again, I think there's always going to be outliers who aren't going to be there to support you, but they're probably not in the groups that we want to be part of. And I just joined another group called the Women's Presidents Organization. Again, these are women who have, risen to the top of their companies. Right. And really want to support each other, but to be able to talk to each other, to be that sounding board. And it might not even be just about business you're talking about. It could be personal.
Right.
Someone who understands what you're going through,
Yeah.
and to empower them, to give them, yes, you've got the support. Do you need help? We're here to help you in whatever way that is, whether it's, a pat on the back, whether it's a you go girl, or congratulations or whatever. I think it's, you have to find, you're right, you have to find a group that really resonates with you and who you are, and particularly close by. Like we're part of this group that's all over the world, which is wonderful. But it's nice to have some local bodies just to help you when, you just need that little bit of push, or to elevate you, to get you moving, to move forward and say, hey, have you tried this, or have you heard of this? Let's give this a whirl.
Yeah, that sounding board is so important. And once you develop that base, when you have that sounding board available to you, you'll find that they know someone and they know someone.
Yes.
Women are very good at connecting. We are incredible at connecting. And we're incredible at remembering kind of random details about things. And so sometimes you'll be just, someone will say, hey, can I vet this by you? Can I run this by you? Can you let me know what you think? And the person's like, I know exactly who you should talk to. And then next thing you know, you have not only a really good contact, but they could potentially get you to the next level. And it's just, and the person that they're referring you to may not also be a woman, or they might be, somebody else, but still that they know that they have that connection.
Right.
And I think that's what we're really good at. I know whether we're mothers or not, we are very good in our earlier stages, let's say 20s. I know I see this with my kids now that they're in their 20s. They just keep track of things. They're like, oh, what about this and what about that? And I'll say something and they'll be like, oh, Mom, try this. And I'm like, okay, there's all this wealth of information out there. And we carry that through as we get older.
And so we talked about the organization we joined, which is, we went to the WeBank conference and we joined We Connect International to get to that. So how did you find out about these conferences or these women's groups?
Yeah, interestingly,
because you don't know if you don't know any of these, like you're sitting here alone, like where's your support group, right?
Exactly.
How do you find these women?
Yeah, I actually when I started my business, I was still living. I'm a dual citizen, and I moved away from Canada in my early 20s, and I lived in California about half my life. And so the majority of my career actually started in California, and my first version of my business started in California. And when the time came for me to move back to Canada, my business was only less than a year old. And there was a diverse-owned business in California, a veteran-owned business, and I was working with him on some contracts. And he was the one who said, "Have you looked into the women-owned business space? When you get to Canada, you might want to look into it, because in the U.S. they also have women-owned businesses, and we were at the conference and we met many of the WeBe U.S. Owned businesses, what they call WBE, and." I said, yeah, I'll do that. And the first couple of years that I was here, like I said, I tried, but I just couldn't find my fit. I found a couple, but many of them were business types that didn't fit my model. Their business problems were different than mine, as well as I didn't relate to many of the people. They didn't quite fit for what I needed. So I stopped for a while, but a year or two I thought, I'll just continue. And then that does have a tendency, especially in technology, to get you into a different space. You start moving in with, the more, we got this tech stuff going, like what is more traditionally done in the tech space, and men in particular. And then what happened is I was doing a project up in Northern Ontario, and I was working, doing some subcontract work with the dairy farmers of Ontario, in particular a project about understanding the dairy supply in the north. And through that, I met some women-owned companies that support women-owned businesses, one of which was Pero, that's who the delegation that we led. So the Pero Center for Women in Business, they had branched off into Southern Ontario. And then that's when I reached out to them and realized, okay, they've now covered all of Ontario. And then around that same time, I got accepted into a Women in Tech program that was out of Nova Scotia for the Center for Women in Business. And I thought, wait a minute here, look at all these people. These are incredible. And that program introduced me to people all across Canada, in particular now in women in the tech space. So the combination of those two then led me to We Connect International, which interestingly, the person who we worked with to get certified, they live where I live now. And so we got to know each other that way. So it's kind of this international, local reach, like you were saying
Yeah.
earlier. So it was a kind of combination of all. And sometimes I don't know if we're always open at the right time when something passes through, because this did cross my path quite a few times in the past.
Yeah.
Namely 2 or 3 times before it actually hit that, wait a minute, maybe I do need to start working in the, connecting with folks in the women-owned space.
And I had never really moved into that women space. My experience with women in finance was always about them, and really not about working together or collaborating and even understanding each other and supporting. Like for me, there's enough business to go around for everybody.
There is.
But interestingly enough, I was working with a bank in Canada called the Business Development Bank, the BDC. And I'd been working with them for many, many years on the financial side and the insurance side. But with my new business, which is helping families transition, because after spending 38 years working with family businesses, I was doing some other work with them. And one of the gals that I had spoken to who was in Montreal said to me, "Oh, are you We Connect International? Are you a member? Are you certified?" And I'm like, I don't even know what it is. And she goes, "Oh, let me send you the information."
Right.
And anyway, became We Connect International. So I've met fabulous people from all around the world.
Yeah.
But I met a very good group in our local community in southwestern Ontario. And then that led to going to the U.S. And now we are WeBank certified, which is a women entrepreneur businesses. Canadian, Paro, all these women's groups that really reaching out, and you're like, they get me, I get them.
Right.
But I mean, I was 39 years in business before I joined a women's group.
Right.
And we're like, wow, that's, and I can't believe that it's taken that long, and how much more. And then this led to the Women Presidents Organization. And again, different levels of women at different capacities, different parts of their lives, different issues. It's been a great ride, and really do feel empowered by working with and talking to these women.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I find now whenever anything comes up in my business, I do the usual reach out like I do. There's the normal people that have been my mentors for almost the past 10 years in business. But now I have a whole other layer of people that I can turn to. So I get my usual opinion that I get with the people that I usually work with. And then I go to the women-owned business folks and be like, now, what do you think? Mm-hmm. And sometimes the advice matches. Other times I'm getting it from a completely different perspective.
Interesting.
And so I'm like, wait, this is giving me more information that in the past I just would have had maybe one version of an opinion. Now I'm getting multiple different versions, and it's coming from different sides. I love it.
Well, again, we all come at it from different experience as women in business. For any industry you're in, and getting a different perspective really helps you make the right decisions. Yeah. Where we didn't really have those, at least I did not have those mentors that were female mentors or leaders to go to. They tended to be men, and they do work a little bit different. It's not that they're more successful than women. No. We just approach things in general from a different lens, and I think that's what has been absolutely incredible for me over the last year. I've only been part of this for a year and a bit, or just coming up a year actually. And I can't believe that I've been 38 years without it. Yeah. So I'd encourage any women who are out there, or business leaders, or thinking of starting a business, to look into some of these women groups. And as you said, to find the right one, because it's empowerment. It's how do you grow? And we all want to see each other succeed, or most of us want to see each other succeed.
Right. Yeah. And also being very cautious of, they don't have to be in your direct industry. If you look at finance and tech, if you look at finance and tech, completely different industries, but we've had similar experiences in our background.
Well, business is business, right? You're going to have the same issues, whether it's employees, whether it's hiring, whether it's bank loans, depending. Right. Just like in your industry, which is a project management. I mean, you don't have to be in that industry. A project is a project. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And this is, you have the same type of stressors. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And in addition to that, you might have children or might not have children. Exactly. Or spouses who are supportive, not supportive. So it's really nice to get a group of people who, women in particular, who can help you and lift you up a little bit when you're down.
And that cushion for when you fall.
Yes,
they're there for you.
It's kind of nice if you're struggling just to give somebody a call
Exactly.
and just get that boost to get you back up. Because there's some things you don't want to talk to your staff about that, you don't want to worry them.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. And there's some things you can't ask other people about as well.
No.
Even if they've been supporting you for a long time in your business, you're like,
right.
I just don't want to ask that question because this is something that I know there's a type of person that needs to answer this question for me, and it's somebody.
And you're worried that if word gets out on some of the things that you're concerned about,
right.
that might have an impact on your business. Right. So it's nice to have that group of women that you can talk to and elevate each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's it. I think this is a pretty good empowerment topic, a good discussion. And like I said, I'm off to a conference, another conference, all women. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'll see you, I guess, at another conference coming up in Orleans soon.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that one. The next version of what we went to in Denver is in New Orleans.
3,000 to 4,000 women in business. It's incredible.
And some of these women, when I came back from the Denver one, they are kick-ass business people. They are just out there.
I don't know about you, but we were I was at one of the breakout sessions. And again, these aren't rah-rah, these are real stories on how to help you, overcome or how bankers will be there talking about how to present properly or what to do. But anyway, this one woman who now has a multi-million-dollar company, was living in her car when she came to Canada.
Yeah.
Or sorry, when she came to the U.S. She was living in her car, and fast forward, 6 years later, she's a multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah.
Just incredible stories, right? They just flee somewhere because of what's happening in their countries, and they land here and really the North America, the land of opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And just do your own thing and get the support and guidance, and you can do anything. So at the end of every podcast, I'd like to ask, what's the top 3 pieces of advice that you would give a woman in business?
Yeah, these are always good questions. I think the first one is ask those you work with how you're doing. This is a common thing I don't always see men doing, is check in with the people that you work with on a day-to-day basis, and say, hey, how do you feel about the work I do? How do you how is this resonating with you? So ask for some feedback. It's kind of hard to do. Mm-hmm. It's but it is something
it's probably hard to get the answer you don't want back.
and you could do it in a way of something simple like give me one thing you really like about working with me. Give me one thing you don't like working with me. And exactly, but invite that information. And please give me one thing that we can both do better. And so kind of make it a kind of well-rounded question and make it very specific versus just saying, hey, how am I doing? What do you think about working with me?
You're doing great.
Yeah, you're always going to get that answer, but make it so that you get, and then that helps you grow. So that's the first one. The second one is give yourself kudos. Pat yourself on the back, even if it's something small. But when, a client meeting goes well, or in my case, I'm a project manager, so a project finished well, just give yourself time to say, hey, that went really well. So give yourself that little bit of kudos time, because we have a tendency, I know, to give kudos to our team members and the people that we work with, or our client for, really working with us well, but we don't always give ourselves that. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, take time to reflect on your progress. If I do this often, actually, and if I look at the time from when I started in business almost 10 years ago to now, whoa, there has been some ups and downs, and I can't believe where I am now compared to where I started. Mm-hmm. And just the growth that I've had as being a woman in business is been incredible. But if you don't actually look at it, and it could be something simple as going back to some of your old documents from that time and seeing what you were writing and what you were putting down. It could be drawing out a timeline for yourself of what happened. It could be looking at your client base over a period of time to see how your clients have shifted and how you have. It could be looking at, if you have anything like this, recordings of yourself to see where you've grown. I think that's really important. And once again, back to your theme of empowerment, all of this helps empower yourself.
That's so true. I like that. Empower yourself as well as other people.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks, Tammy. Thanks for having me.
If you like this episode, subscribe to the Business of Family podcast on your favorite listening platform. You can also find Blue Roots on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. On the next show, I'll be back with another amazing guest who will inspire you with their family business insights. Until then, take care and keep it in the family. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, tax, investment, or insurance advice. Before acting on any advice, please contact your personal or company advisors.